about James H. Meredith. James H. Meredith was the first black to attend the University of Ole Miss. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in political science. He organized the March Against Fear on Route 51 from Memphis, Tennessee to Jackson, Mississippi. The journey to success was a life struggle for Meredith. He was born June 25th, 1933. His birthplace was Kazaki, Mississippi, on a small farm. He was one of the seventh of Cap's Meredith, 13 children, with Cap's second wife, Roxy. The family was lacking in running water, but they were self-sufficient. James Meredith moved to St. Petersburg, Florida, where he lived with an aunt. He graduated from high school in 1951. Due to lack of money for college, he joined the U.S. Air Force. After 9 years of the Air Force, he returned to Mississippi and returned to Jackson University. The fiercely independent, intelligent James Meredith was a great icon of the civil rights movement. He attacked the system of segregation that limited the amount of opportunities upon the African Americans. Meredith correctly pursued the Kennedy's administration would therefore be on his side of the enrollment at the old Mrs. boiled down to power struggle between the federal and state government. Meredith submitted his application to the registration at the university. Along with a photograph of himself in the state, I am an American Mississippi Negro citizen, but he was denied admission. He scored of the earliest important victories against segregation with the help from Mr. Medgar Evers and the NAACP with his battle to integrate Ole Miss. March Against Fear, after he graduated from Ole Miss, Meredith spent in Nigeria, where he studied economics at the University of Lebanon. In June of 1966, Meredith organized the March Against Fear along Route 51 from Memphis, Tennessee to Jackson, Mississippi. The purpose for the March Against Fear is to encourage black voters to overcome the fear that often kept them from the polls. On the second day of the march, Meredith was wounded by scores of shotgun pellets fired by James Norvell, who had waited in an ambush along the march route. Meredith's historic works left a legacy in the state of Mississippi. Meredith received his law degree from Columbia in 1968. Meredith's success started with the film The Ghost of Mississippi was realized in 1977. He returned to Mississippi in 1971, setting in Jackson and opening nightclubs, investment banking, cosmetic sales, farming, television repair were among the businesses at which he tried at hand. He also started his own church, the Reunification Under God Church, who sought, among other things, to teach African Americans to grow their own food. As I come to my conclusion, James Meredith was the first black to attend the University of Mississippi after a ruling by the federal courts that he could not be denied admission. Him now as a Columbia University law student, a few compassions began and walked from Memphis, Tennessee to Jackson, Mississippi to encourage African Americans to register and vote. The answer to the racial problem in America is to not deal with it at all and to find the forefathers that were in the making of the Constitution. You go to understand that the state of Mississippi was a rebellion. It has rebelled against the United States now that it has difficulties for a story against black African Americans. But that was actually what happened. James was sent to Ole Miss as a black African American. His photograph, because of him being African American, was denied. He quoted, "I am an American Mississippi Negro who trying to fit into society."